Today's episode brought to you by E Bare Handius Unum. In bare hands we trust.
It's high noon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, Blevins. With me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Oh, not too much, man. It was a big playoff-intensive week in Overwatch League this week. It's not going to relax at all in the coming weeks, as the standings are just getting muddier and muddier and closer, and there's less and less definition to it, and it just feels like it's anybody's. So it was a great week for Overwatch fans.
It was a really great week for Overwatch fans, except for me as an NYXL fan, because we got the... We'll talk about it later. I don't want to.
Probably pretty salty too. In fact, I know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, which is I guess good too. But nonetheless, let's move on and a little. I guess I'll shift things around here and talk a little bit about what I've done this week. As you may be able to see on the video feed, I'm in a new place. So with that. If anything sounds weird or is just different, I guess it doesn't matter if it's different, if it's still good. If it's awful or something sounds horribly wrong or something went wrong, let me know on Discord so that I can fix it as soon as possible. Every time I even look at my computer the wrong way, something goes wrong and I have to fix it. So I want to get that fixed as soon as possible. We spent the better part of an hour fixing some audio issues before this episode.
You had to charades it too. Like I'm telling you, like, my mic's working. It's good. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we Discord. I'm like, it's probably hilarious. You should check out.
Yeah, it's literally Deathblow is like trying to like use sign language to tell me stuff over Discord, and I guess it technically it worked. So
you were remarkably like, you can be my charades partner any day of the week because you knew all the basic stuff, and then you were kind of able to like piece it together. The only thing is you were like, I check, and I'm like, I checked. Yes, that's it. That's done. There's no more.
It took me two tries to get there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it took the second one, but that's pretty good by charade standards.
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty decent at charades, even though I've literally never played except for right now. But moving right along, so that was just a little caveat / I guess what I did this week. But we'll talk about the shows, of course. This week we had last week was an on week for Around the Payload, and it was a big one. We had Bare Hands, who of course was mentioned at the top of the episode, who is now the GM for the Overwatch World Cup Team USA, which I think it wasn't picked yet, because we also had Lemon Kiwi, who was a nominee for community lead for Canada. So we didn't know who the Overwatch World Cup committees were yet, but we had Lemon Kiwi and Bare Hands, and of course F and Taco, and a fan favorite Thist returned as well. Very good episode. I changed up the rules a little bit in the game because I got a little bit of feedback. Implemented some stuff. I think it worked out. But don't worry, I still have way too much power in the game, so you don't need to worry about the format changing too much. I'm still just as not corrupt as I ever am. But we had another episode of Blackwatch Report, and I believe they had Elk on this week from Contenders, so that's a good one. I believe they maybe had a regular episode too. I know they had an interview for sure, and they may have had another episode, but definitely check out Blackwatch Report. All things considered, I believe there are some technical issues, and Taco said he's going to be releasing the episode on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I think that's what he said.
Yep.
And Foul Play, due to no fault of our own, canceled this week. We could do the show.
Winston's Lab.
Yeah.
Send hate mail to Winston's
we could do the show.
That's up until the next week
but
starts.
the show is it's not fruitful if we don't have stats, because we're just talking about incomplete stats. At which point, you just listen to High Noon Podcast flagship show.
We talk about the eyeball test here. We care about numbers on that show.
Yeah, the very stats intensive show. So sad that had to happen, but that's out of our hands, unfortunately. Let's move on and talk about a little more what we did last week. Death, anything fun and exciting for you?
Well, I picked out my new car. I haven't gotten my new car, but my new 2002. So definitely
nice.
new to me. Let's call it. But yeah, just kind of like I said, watching Overwatch League. There was the new update for Sea of Thieves. I was having a good amount of fun with that this week.
Have you seen the new like Megalodon thing?
Oh yeah, I killed it.
Is it sweet?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really, really cool. It's got a really intense battle to it.
Nice.
Like there's this spoiler alerts, muted for 30 seconds if you don't want to have any information about the Megalodon. But just like, there's like a big shark that comes out and like bites the ship and it like sends it rocking and moves it, and like
oh god, that's terrifying.
Very, very different than like the old
Kraken.
The Kraken, yeah, where it like literally roots you in place, and so it's a very different style of encounter.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
There's that. What's that? It's a weird name for a phobia of like things underwater, and like I definitely have it. Even though like I'm not like I can go in water. I'm not like actively afraid of like being on a boat or anything. But just like even like in Sea of Thieves, just like thinking about that, like I get chills thinking about stuff like that. So it's definitely one of these days. Thalassophobia. Yep, that's the one. There's a subreddit that I go on just to like terrify myself, where there's like there's certain like magic cards too that like there's like one magic card that like it's like a little ship at the top, and then there's this gigantic sea monster with like huge teeth. I think the card's from Portal. 10 points for anyone who knows what card I'm talking about. It's like an 8/8 or a 6/6 like island walk creature that can't attack if they don't have islands or something. It's like one of those things.
I wanted it to be Visidrix so bad.
Visidrix is a
Visidrix is it's so bad.
Well, yeah, Visidrix is a like like a humanoid like rabbit creature that's really muscular for some reason. It's been reprinted a bunch too. Yeah, I don't know what the actual card is, but the one I'm thinking of is from Portal and has really creepy art. So, yeah. But besides moving for me, I was actually I did a little esports segment on Cheddar TV. So if you're familiar with them at all, what's funny about Cheddar is that I actually found out about them from LinkedIn of all places. They post a lot of like cool like gadget videos. They're basically like a news network that's targeted towards younger people, so it's like in the same format as like your traditional news segment, but they're focused more on like like millennial issues, I guess is what most people would call them, and stuff like that. It was actually started by the CEO used to be the president of BuzzFeed, so like a kind of a spin-off of that. But I did a segment for them, which was pretty sweet. Hopefully going to be doing some more work for them soon, so keep an eye out for that. But let's not talk about what we did last week. Let's talk about what you guys did, and we'll move on to my favorite segment of the show.
Overwatch Today, meme of the week.
That, of course, is the meme of the week. And this one, Death, you sent me this one, and the second you sent it, I was like 100% snap it off. Definitely going to be. If you guys, so a little bit of context for this one. This one comes from Wins, formerly of Rogue. If you guys are watching the NBA Finals at all, you saw J.R. Smith just make a bonehead play, like just straight up dumb basketball play. It doesn't really, the details of it don't matter, except that J.R. Smith is an idiot, and I hope he never plays another game of his life. But it's a picture of LeBron James just like looking so distraught that this is happening, and you can just see in his face perfectly the like what in the world are you doing, man? Like, we had the win. What is wrong with you? And Wins just posts that picture and says Dia on it. It's just so true because, man, Dia was popping off against Houston, and it just was not enough.
Very probably, at least in my opinion, I can't think of a Widowmaker performance that was that good for that sustained amount of a time. Like, I think it might have been single-handedly like the best Widowmaker performance of the season.
It might be.
It's honestly really, really difficult to stand out in a situation like that when you're on such a bad team. And
it was like
Linkser.
I was saying,
yeah, I'm playing against Linkser, right? Like, I mean, he beat Linkser hands down in that matchup, and
well, at least the first bit of it.
right. And the team couldn't even string together a map win out of it, and it was just unbelievable watching it. Like, initially I'm getting a little nervous, right? Because obviously I don't want going to Shanghai,
right.
and they don't want to be that team either. And so I'm going into it, and I wasn't worried going into it. But then you start to see Dia playing like that, and a couple shots, you're like, okay, fine, he can play good today. But then it just like never stopped. He just kept being ridiculously, good throughout the entire duration of the match. Really, really impressive performance for him. And if it wasn't coupled by the worst performance from Fearless that we've seen since he joined the Overwatch League, and if it wasn't, coupled with a very underwhelming performance from Ado as well, really just nobody else wanted to pop. I think it was actually Freefield's best game of Overwatch League as well. Like, there was another player out there doing his best to help Dia. It was on the support line, so they got better support play than they've gotten in a long time. They got one of the best Widowmaker performances of the season and couldn't even string together a map win. It was brutal.
Yeah, it's just like we've seen it time and time again, and like I at this point, like I really hate to harp on it, but like they just don't have that edge to push it over the top. Like they've put themselves like credit where credit's due. They have done a pretty decent job of putting themselves in a position to win maps on multiple occasions and then just not. And like they don't always have the most insane plays. Like they don't have generally Dia is at least traditionally in the past, Dia is not popping off like this, so they don't have a ton of opportunities. But in the last couple weeks, they've been getting these opportunities, and then like it just shuts down when they're like about to win a map. It's just like they just crumble. It's weird. It's like flipping a switch. It's kind of crazy.
It's something you see with football, and I think it's just how involved the teamwork and the synergy is required here. That's why I think there's a lot of similarities in at least the cliches you can bring up when you're comparing football and Overwatch. But it was just like, bad teams find ways to lose games.
Yep.
And Shanghai had an opportunity against Houston to win it. And as a result, at the end of it, when you look back on it, they instead got beat handily because there was only one map that was ever even up for grabs or contested, and it wasn't even the one that they drew.
Right.
That was the Koth map that it looked like Shanghai was going to win until overtime on point 3, and then they lost it, never got it back, and Houston took it. But like even the map they drew was just like Houston had 6 minutes to get one tick on point B of Hanamura, and they just like got stubborn again on Hanamura, as apparently they love to do, and just didn't switch on point B until it was too late, and just Shanghai was set up, Dia was popping off, everything just lined up. But at the end of the day, it was one of those games where I was like almost glad it was against Houston, because I'd have been mad, right? Like as somebody that does a little bit, and I said a couple weeks ago, I'm done with them, forget them. I don't even care if they win anymore. They deserve to lose at this point. But that was like after Dallas, right? And we still kind of thought Dallas was really bad, and they weren't. So now looking back on it, you're like, okay, I guess maybe their plan wasn't that awful, but they just went up against a team with a better one. It was really hard to tell at the time. But now looking at it, I do still want them to get their win, right? If for no other reason than I said, of course they'll get a win, however many times. Law of large numbers has to do it. Then I'd have been mad all over again that they found a way to lose this one and just refused to let me be right. Like it's like they just know. Well, we're not going to make the playoffs, so at least let's make Deathblow look like an idiot.
The last thing I'll say about it is, you could see the frustration from Dia specifically. Like it was taking a toll on him for sure. And I mean, I get it. Like if you're on a team where like you are doing as good as you possibly could, you put up I mean, if not the best Widowmaker performance in that we've seen in the league, like a top 5 performance, hands down, not close. You literally can't ask for more than that, and you're still not taking a map. That is just hard. That is hard to deal with. And it, I mean, where do you go from there if you're a player like Dia? Like, what do you do? Like, is it going to get better? Like, do you try to go to another team? Is your team going to get better? Like, I don't know. So I understand the frustration from his side, or at least I feel like I do. Obviously, I'm not in that position, but it's just like when you put your all out and you put everything into it and you spend so much time and then you specifically perform as well as you possibly could and your team, still can't do it. That is a tough feeling. But
the only thing I can compare it to is ranked. When
yeah.
I feel like I played really well and then we lose, but this
right.
is
The stakes are
stakes.
significantly lower. It's tough. I've not been in as bad of a situation for sure, but I have been in a situation where I was on a team in middle school, 8th grade basketball, did not win a game.
Same. Football.
Yeah.
0-8. Brutal.
Yeah, those are tough, especially like I wasn't the best player on the team, but I was definitely in the top half of players on the team. And it's tough. It's tough for that. But let's move on here to our next segment.
It's news.
Couple of pieces of news here. On the week, if you guys weren't watching, they were advertising it pretty heavily during the broadcast, but you can pick your all-star team for the Overwatch League All-Star game, All-Star weekend. I believe it's after grand finals, right? Like it's like a week or a month or something after, you said.
Think so, but don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't think we have specific information on it yet.
It's not for a while, to say the least. But definitely, if you want, you pick your Pacific Division, Atlantic Division team. Pick whoever you want. There's no criteria needed, except you have to pick. Like you can't pick like 6 tanks. They don't let you do that. So you have to pick like 2-2-2 basically for positions. And they have flex position. I don't know exactly how the flex works in there, but basically it's 2-2-2 and a flex player can play somewhere else. And they have Ria Jehong listed as a flex player. So lol is all I have to say about that. But pick whoever you want. I have a feeling there's a couple of shoe-ins, but like if you want to see a specific player be in the All-Star game, like vote for them. It will probably matter because there's going to be, I think, Jonak is going to be in there. I think, and like Carpe will probably be it, but like even like Carpe, not necessarily. Like there's a lot of good, like the DPS roles. It's gonna be kind of close, I think.
Carpe is going to have a bit of a tough time getting in. I think there's going to be a couple teams that are overrepresented, specifically Shanghai, Houston, and Dallas. I think are going to be overrepresented.
Yeah.
They tend to have you have the meme factor with picking Shanghai players. I expect all 9 of them to get in. And then you have your just bigger fan bases, right? When you look at like the bits donated by the fans on the Overwatch League stream on Twitter, Twitch. There's Houston and Dallas are the top 2. So I do expect them to be a little overrepresented, but at least, now you have Dallas playing well. So that it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't be really good Overwatch as a result. And then, I think it depends which Houston players make it in, right? Because like I voted for Linkser and Muma. I think you can make an argument for Raucus, but he's in a position with Jonak, so shouldn't happen.
Yeah, no.
I'm
I'm going to go ahead and say no.
or unless they're taking more than just 6, right?
Mm.
But I'm also very curious on because this might just be picking the roster for the main match of the All-Star game where they play Overwatch Pacific against Atlantic, but we could also have a lot of other kind of side events or skill competition type stuff, and I'm really hoping they open it up and don't just take more than just the people that are voted in for those things, even though that's not kind of the typical way of doing them. I think that would definitely help a lot. But yeah, so I don't know. It was a lot of fun going through the lists and trying to decide it. I did it trying to pick a team that I thought would play well against the other team. I wanted a balanced matchup. I didn't want an uneven one, and I picked accordingly. So it was a lot of fun, and I think there's a lot of really cool combos out there that I think I'd love to see. The sheer fragging power that could come from a Jonak Neptuno support line would be absolutely hysterical to see. Just stuff like that. I think there's a lot of really cool combinations. I think my DPS for the Atlantic was Linkser and Prophet together. I think that would be absolutely crazy to see.
Yeah.
Carpe Prophet too is another one that would be awesome. So a lot of cool combinations. Have fun with it.
That's the wrong. Is that the right division? No, that's the other division though, isn't it? Is London Atlantic? Oh no, London is Atlantic. Okay. Yeah.
Are they on a good team? Yes, Atlantic division.
Right. So why are you talking about London then? But Yiker.
Fair, but
Yikers. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. Boston. Okay. Let's move on before we. I mean, it changes. It changes every week. So, moving on. LA Valiant are actually they're in a partnership with the You Can Play project. They're the first esports organization to join a social change initiative to join the LGBTQ inclusion in sports. They're actually selling little rainbow LA Valiant patches. So if you saw on the players' jerseys against NY, they were wearing those, and you can actually go to the LA Valiant store. I'll put the link in the description. You can buy a patch there, and it all goes towards the You Can Play project, which I will also put a link towards. It's all about inclusion in gaming. It's, I believe, focused, at least for this month, on LGBTQ initiatives, but I believe inclusion in gaming is just something that needs to happen in order for it to be more mainstream. Like having the perception of gaming be like this toxic, like, oh, it's just a bunch of like neckbeards in their parents' basement, and they just talk, they troll and they talk trash, and everyone is hated all the time. Reddit. We don't want gaming esports in the Overwatch League to be plagued with that.
Just your podcast.
Yeah, just the podcast. Now, we don't want esports to be perceived like that, because if it is, then it's never going to grow. And what are we doing if that's not the case? So,
for what it's worth, I think there's a decent argument you can make here that those patches actually make you a better Overwatch player, because it sure looked like the Valiant were playing with more pride than the New York Excelsior. Just saying.
Literally, no team has ever lost while wearing one of those patches. So, just saying. I am waiting on an email back, but we are likely going to have at least a YouTube video with some more details from the LA Valiant here. I reached out to them and got an email back. We're just setting up a time, so keep an eye out for that on the YouTube channel. Jen, who is the PR person for LA Valiant, kind of spearheaded this initiative, and they're doing if you're in LA, they're actually doing an event this Sunday. I don't have the details on it, unfortunately. Once I get them, once I hear back from her, I'll post out the details in the description, and I'll be talking with her shortly, and we'll have a YouTube video explaining more. So if you're interested in that, obviously you can go to the LA Valiant store, pick up a patch. I think they're like $10 or something. It all goes to a good cause. They're really nice, like quality patch that, like, if you like patches or if you want to put one on your jersey, you can. And I believe if you have any questions or anything about that, you can hit me up, or you can reach out to someone. You can maybe tweet at the LA Valiant, or reach out to me, and I can put you in contact with someone, or go to the website. But Moving right along here, I guess the biggest piece of news here we alluded to earlier was the Overwatch World Cup committees have been chosen. And obviously the only one that matters is the USA. And we get this, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to like not have to like to be able to just play favorites because I never ever just play favorites. For those of you in podcast world, I just zoomed in on my NYXL hat that I wear literally every day.
Except for
But
one day.
no, there was a day I wore it every single day. I have witnesses. But yeah,
Yeah, but I'm one of them, and I won't admit it.
all that the long and short of it is USA, 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 USA. You can even see my USA jersey in the background now.
And we're gonna be there for the World Cup. We're gonna be as loud, as dumb, as as enthusiastic as any American has any right to be.
Yeah, and
during that event.
you know what
Very
the best news is that the one person I was sitting with that was rooting for South Korea versus USA is now the GM for Team USA. So that, of course, is Bare Hands, like we mentioned before. He is the GM for Team USA, and I know Deathblow. I know you're upset about it.
This whole now I'm iffy about this whole selection.
Oh yeah,
No,
he.
yeah, if he's a South Korea fan,
No.
I'm worried about espionage.
He was last year because he literally like half of the NYXL team was on South Korea's team last year.
That's an excuse. That's an excuse.
Oh, it sure is, and believe me, I let him know, and he did not care.
I will be rooting for Linkser to get absolutely dumpstered by the United States of America. I won't have any qualms about
Yeah.
it. He will be the enemy that day. I'll show bare hands.
Yeah. We also saw the for coach, the selection was Arrow, who is now, of course, the coach for the Dallas Fuel, who have not lost since he became the coach. Is that right? Did they lose this week?
No, yeah, they lost.
Yeah, they did. Okay, never mind. Regardless, a very good coach. I was talking with Bare Hands before, and he said he was very happy about Arrow being the coach. So that's good. And then the community leader here is Baldwin, who is I believe the Overwatch community lead for the LA Gladiators. So definitely a nice choice there. Obviously, she does a lot of community stuff for the Gladiators, and is right there. I believe. I mean, yeah, obviously the Bare Hands and Arrow, and I guess Ballin probably are all in LA. So a nice, easy little transition. They don't have to fly anyone out or anything, so that's good. But yeah, super pumped about that. If you guys are interested, there actually is a Team USA Discord and a Team USA Twitter. I don't know what the Team USA Discord link is off the top of my head, but if you look at, they are, I think they're
Bare Hands put it in Discord earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
Just hop in Discord, ask us for it. We'll make sure you get it.
Yeah, we'll get it for you. They also have a Twitter. Definitely follow that one for sure. Last year they had a different Twitter, and I may have said that if they beat South Korea, I would shave my head and beard and go handlebar mustache and bald for the rest of the. So I kind of dodged a little bit of a bullet, but I don't know if I'm going to be making that bet this year. Who knows? But yeah, really awesome committee chosen here, and we may have a.
In the original bet, did you specify which year they had to beat them in, or do I just get to hold you down?
Not gonna look. Certainly not gonna look.
Check it out and bring my clippers.
All I know is that you're not gonna be able to bring those on a plane. B, we may have an inside a little high noon hot seat coming up. With a member of this committee. I don't want to give anything away. I'm sure you'd never be able to guess.
Yeah, one of those three we may or may not be a little closer with than the other two.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Although I guess that kind of narrows it down to two, right? Because two of those three have been on High Noon production shows before.
It's true.
So who knows? But I'll leave that one up to mystery here. And let's move on
It's tournament talk.
We are moving right along here into the tournament talk. Quick overview of the week in Overwatch here. We started off on Wednesday with NYXL beating Philadelphia Fusion 4-0. Seoul Dynasty beating the Shanghai Dragons 4-0. And LA Valiant beating the LA Gladiators 3-0. That was a big one. Moving on, we had a little bit of an upset here with the different match. London Spitfire, I'm thinking of the other one. London Spitfire beat Boston Uprising here 2-1. That's not the upset. San Francisco Shock versus Dallas Fuel, which was literally a 50-50 on High Noon Pick'em. San Francisco got the best of that one, 3-1. And then LA Gladiators beat Philadelphia Fusion 3-1. We mentioned before, Houston Outlaws beat Shanghai Dragons 3-0. Seoul Dynasty won a 3-2 over Florida Mayhem. So definitely a close match there. And then San Francisco Shock beat Boston Uprising 3-1. Here was the upset, or I guess, maybe, I don't know, it's arguable, but Dallas Fuel beat the London Spitfire 3-1. I don't think anyone would have predicted that since the preseason. Maybe that's a maybe on that preseason prediction there. LA Valiant defeat the New York Excelsior 3-2. Burns my tongue to say that. And then Houston Outlaws beat the Florida Mayhem 3-1. So definitely a big week here for a lot of the teams. Obviously, LA Valiant essentially pulling out a win that they certainly weren't counting on. Definitely secures their spot here. They are solidly in the number 2 slot, and actually there's really the only tie here is in the 5-6 spot with Seoul Dynasty and LA Gladiators. Philly also. So there's a 3-way tie right at the cusp of the playoffs here. Philly, LA Gladiators, and Seoul all tied at 21 wins, with Houston Outlaws 1 game out. San Francisco Shock making a run for it. Although they're, I mean, no, they are eliminated.
Mathematically,
they are
not possible anymore.
Not possible anymore. But I mean, they had a good run. They've definitely shown some improvement. So we now see the San Francisco Shock, Dallas Fuel, Florida Mayhem, and Shanghai Dragons all mathematically out. But 1 through, I guess technically 2 through 8. Although I don't know, is Valiant secured here? If they lose, they'll still have 24, and if Houston wins out, they'll have 24. So they could theoretically be out, maybe, depending on the matchups.
I don't think they're mathematically locked yet, but it's a pretty strong case, right? Because where they line up with Houston doesn't matter as much as I think where they line up against Philly, who's currently on the outside looking in. So it's a little bit closer there, right? Like they're only 3 games ahead of a team that's outside. So definitely not locked in yet.
Yeah.
But they're gonna make it for no other reason than, as you said, they just beat New York. They haven't lost yet this stage. And listen, I got a little like low key heat for it. I think everybody kind of understands what I'm saying when I call them an average team.
Yeah.
They're playing better than that. I'm gonna eat some crow on that one. Like, they're not an average team right now. They're playing better than most teams in the league are. The only thing that really has me worried about them is every other team that's shown flashes in this stage has crumbled, like at some point, right? Like, you've got Dallas playing really well and consistently, but I don't think they're running away with anything, right? Like they're playing really well. They're beating matchups they wouldn't have normally been able to beat. But I don't think they're run away with it. I don't think they're, like one of the top teams of the stage or anything like that. Still New York to me, but that's maybe the only one. I don't know, but you have to start to include LA in that conversation. The Valiant here, obviously.
Yeah.
The big win in the battle for LA was what really kind of sealed things for me for the Valiant. And really kind of taught me the lesson that I needed to learn, right? Because after week 1, it was Houston and LA were so big, and then after week 2, it was, just the Gladiators are big, and then now it's not even New York, right? Like the LA Valiant are the only team still undefeated left in this stage. Everybody else has at least proven to be fallible in some capacity, and it's really opening things up like crazy. But big props to the Valiant. We talked about this in the past. All you need to do is make the playoffs. and then be playing your best in them in order for it to really be what you need to do and what the goal is here for these teams. The Valiant seem to be peaking at the right time. It's still a little early to be actually the right time. But, going into a meta that I don't think we're going to see a wholesale change back to dive for the playoffs or anything like that. We're going to see at least some form of what we're seeing now, probably more Hanzo. There will be an update as far as he's concerned that comes in there. He'll probably he was already nerfed a little bit. He might get nerfed a little bit more before then as well. So I'm expecting something like what we're seeing now, but just maybe with a little bit different DPS choices. And honestly, it's going to be map pool dependent, but probably less dive, not more, right? Like we're going to see less Winston picks, less Diva picks, I think, for the playoffs. So keep an eye on these teams that are doing really well in the Death Ball meta, and the LA Valiant, I think, are starting to surface as a team that I wouldn't have thought of as possible contenders with New York, but now you almost have to look at them that way. Not even because they beat New York this week. If you watch that match, New York was memeing and not necessarily going all out with their best strategies and everything like that. That was apparent in watching the games. Now, that version of New York is more than good enough to beat, probably 10 of these teams 9 out of 10 times. So, the credit still has to go to LA, but it's not like when Boston did it last stage or when Philly did it in stage 2 or it's not quite that kind of win here, but nonetheless, it looks, unless the Valiant are able to complete the 10-0 and win out in the next 2 weeks, it looks like we won't see another 10 wins stage. Because I thought New York had a very good chance at it, but they're taking things a little more lightly than I think we deserve.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about that in the upcoming weeks, especially depending on this week's performance. But like we were spitballing it in the previous or in the pre-show, and I'm very curious to see how the coaching staff and the players react to that loss, because they're like, oh, we were just trying stuff out and it didn't matter. We already have first ball out. Like, that's a scary, as an NYXL fan, that's a scary mentality for the team to be taking going into the biggest match.
You don't want that to be how they treat their last 3 weeks of serious matches before they go into the playoffs, where everything's on the line, and one, losing one match, obviously it's a best of 3 match, but losing one best of 3 ends it for you. You're done. You're going home, and there's been talk of obviously Luxury Watch Blue, this isn't Luxury Watch Blue, this is mostly Luxury Watch Blue with a couple additions. Had a bit of a history of
one of those
choking
additions
in big
being
moments.
Jonak.
Right, who's a difference maker, to say the least, but not
literally
not
changes the stats of the entire league by double-digit percentages with just his performance.
Wasn't good enough to carry them to this win here, which I think has to wake them up. Like, you still need to mentally prepare.
I hope it wakes them up.
It should, hopefully. If they continue to meme, we're going to be looking at a playoff race that's maybe a little more interesting.
I mean, it's one of those, sports mantras or, cliches or whatever, but practice like you play. Like, don't mess or even though obviously this is playing, but for them it's essentially practice. Yes, let's get Allen Iverson on the show to talk about practice.
And it's on my soundboard for foul play.
I know I don't have it. Nope, I don't have it. But man, that if I'm the coach for the NYXL, that's a wake up call. Hey guys, because what was interesting was first map they won, second map they lost, but it was close, and then third map they steamrolled, and then they memed on Gibraltar, and then map 5 they tried.
They even split map 4, right? Gibraltar, they go full on try hard mode until it's one push away.
Right, until Pine gets to show off his new Spider Pine.
There was 4.5 minutes on the clock, and then they
it was insane
because they just keep repeatedly trying. Sending their Widowmaker in deeper than every other player on the team, just to trying some really weird things. It was a weird match to watch.
And I mean,
it doesn't have to mean anything at the same time. We're nervous about it, but it doesn't have to mean it.
Right. It certainly doesn't. They can come back out and maybe Animo and Pine. I think Pine still comes in his spots, but I think maybe Animo maybe he got his shot, because I think, not that Animo is a bad player, though I don't think he was playing particularly well this series. He's not the shot caller that Arc is, and SBB is the in-game leader. So when you don't have SBB or Arc, I think NYXL has the potential to break down a little bit, and we're at the point where other teams are able to actually capitalize on that. The problem with NYXL at full strength is that they have insane mechanical skill, and they're also very coordinated as a team. But when you take one of those pieces out, and potentially like a little bit of another piece, like it's enough to squeeze a win out for sure.
That adds a glaring weakness that didn't used to be there, and it's all you need.
Doesn't have to be there.
Just open up that little bit of an opportunity, and there's 5 or 6 teams in this league that can capitalize.
For sure, but we won't talk ad nauseum about that because we already have. But yeah, it's. I mean, I kind of wish that like Shock and Dallas were actually in this race right now, because like it seems like they're playing so well for nothing. It's like, I guess for a stage playoff, like let's take a look. What is for
the Shock? It's low key like their entire season, right? Because they went into this with their suboptimal lineup that had the problems, and the young players that couldn't play yet. So this stage is their season. So I'm really happy to see them doing well. It means good things for their fans and everything going forward. The Dallas Fuel obviously had championship aspirations going into the year. And they're still holding on. They're tied with Houston. They're actually their stage playoff life right now. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch Houston and Dallas this week, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit here.
Yeah.
But you're talking about 2 different kinds of desperation, right? Like the Dallas is playing for relevancy at any point during the season, right? And they're desperate for it. They really want to be there, right? These guys are playing for their jobs, and some of them you wonder if Dallas doesn't renew them, who's going to pick them up? You know, it's for a few of them, it's difficult. So any good positive tape they can put out on the stage right now is a very big deal for them. And then you've got Houston, who is very alive in the playoff race overall. You know, both stage and league. We know they don't really care about stage, but if they're going to make the league playoffs, they're probably going to have to make the stage playoffs too. So they're you know, they had, and they even got a taste of it, right? In stage 1, they came out in 2nd place. You're going to tell me they didn't have the playoff aspirations or expectations, not even aspirations anymore. I think it changes from aspirations to expectations when you put together a stage like that. You know, to see them fighting for their lives, I think this is going to be a phenomenal match going into it. But yeah, like you said, Dallas is trying to salvage something. You've got the San Francisco Shock basically trying to prove that their plan was worth executing, that they were going to get close enough to you know, have a good building block for next year. I think they're showing that, but they obviously want to continue it.
Yeah, I mean, I just took a quick look at San Francisco, Houston, and Dallas's schedules for the next 2 weeks, and a lot of that Dallas and Houston are playing each other, and San Francisco is not, but they all of them have to earn their stage playoff spot here. Like, none of it is going to be close. Like, I think Houston has to play against both of the LAs and
just the Valiant. They've got the Valiant, Dallas, and then they've got
York,
Philly and New York in the last week.
Yeah. So I mean, regardless, like these, like Dallas, Houston, and San Fran all, and I mean technically Philly too, all, I guess even Spitfire, but they're all like in the stage playoff race. So like everyone, like I guess they really are playing for something. Like, cause like if you think about it, like if a San Francisco Shock or a Dallas Fuel takes a stage, like if they take a stage playoff or even make a stage playoff, like all of a sudden, like they're you know, revitalized as a team. Maybe, you know, I mean, I don't know how much that actually does for the team. Like, how much are they going to care? How much is season 2 going to how much is that going to matter for season 2? How much? I mean, I would imagine that if you go out, you know, as San Francisco or as Dallas, as a, you know, maybe a stage 4 playoff, playoffs. If you end the season with a stage 4 playoff, even just making the playoffs, like you're going to have a much easier time talking to these new OWL prospects. instead of like how is Shanghai ever going to get anyone to play for their team? Is or like Florida? I mean, Shanghai at least like every Chinese player still probably wants to play for that team, but like Florida, like man, it's got to be a tough sell to play for Florida. But
If there's other offers, you'd think it would be tough, yeah.
right, exactly. So I don't know, but let's move on here and talk about the matches coming up this week. Again, I mean, we've alluded to it many times, but there's a lot of very important matchups for the stage and season playoffs here. We're going to start off with one right off the bat. We've got Seoul Dynasty versus Boston Uprising. We are both picking Seoul here 3-0. 74% of the fans are in favor of Seoul. Man, I'm picking Seoul here, but I don't have confidence in it. Can I pick neither of these teams to win?
It's a tempting proposition, but here, let me make things a little bit easier for you. It's been 7 straight losses for the Boston Uprising, and the first one of those was against New York in the stage playoffs last stage, but they have yet to put together a win in stage 4. They are 0-6 as a map record of 6-17-2, so they are -11 in the map differential. It is a brutally bad situation for the Boston Uprising. When they were able to just kind of take one player and force him into a comp that they were already really, really good at, and mistakes playing Genji, you're able to kind of make up for that. But now nobody's comfortable, right? Because they've never been this death ball team. They've always been very much so too reliant on dive. They need to adjust their whole strategy. They need to figure out something they've never been able to do, and they also don't have a head coach. They lost their head coach, so their ship has no captain right now, and it's really, there was talks about internal turmoil in the team earlier on in the season. We've been hearing a little bit, some rumblings of that as well, and nothing breeds turmoil within a locker room like 6 losses in a row.
Yeah.
So it's brutally tough for Boston fans and for the Boston players, I'm sure. So I don't know what to say, because I don't think it's going to get better for Boston. I do think they've obviously got a pretty good chance to beat Shanghai. We'll talk about that match in a little bit. But given the situation, that's even far from a lock or anything like that. So I have very little faith in Seoul and what they've been able to do. I think they are improving now that they're studying things. Man, like they finally took my advice, right? I've been saying since the start of the stage, where is Kuki? This is what he's here for. And we're finally seeing him a little bit. And I do think they're improving, getting a little bit better, but they are, man, Philly really did them a favor and kind of put them back in the playoff conversation. They're currently sitting at 5. They're tied in maps with LA at 16, but you look below them, and the only thing separating them from Philadelphia is map differential. There's only one match separating them from Houston, and Houston beats everybody in map differential. Boston, Seoul, Gladiators, the Fusion, everybody, they have a better map differential than right now. So if they end up in a tie scenario there, you don't like their chances to pull that one out, especially given they're continuing to struggle. So it's going to be a really, really interesting one here. I'm solidly going with Seoul in this one, but it's not because I believe in Seoul or I have faith in what they're doing. I think they waited too long to settle their roster down. Now they need to get things back into play, and they don't have time anymore to work on the initial problems that had them changing their roster to begin with. They wasted all that time switching everybody every match, and now everybody else has kind of improved and passed them in a way that I think we're seeing with a couple of these teams. London is another one, but we'll get to them soon.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it makes a lot more sense. I mean, Boston has just never shown the ability to actually adapt to anything. They just tried to force everything out. Dive is not the proposition. They're not playing. We've seen it. They're not able to just overpower with the dive. It doesn't work. And even if they do switch, like, they're going to be massively worse than the teams that they're playing against. So not looking good for Boston right now.
But a huge match, because the winner here will go from very iffy to probably in.
Yeah.
Right, because they're right next to each other in the rankings. It's going to mean a big a big swing here. So I think it would give Seoul a sizable advantage. It would flip Boston down into the big tie mess that they're in, right? They're going to be down there, and then they're kind of like one more loss away that they shouldn't win, right? If they lose one, they should win based off standings or past performances. Then they're going to be really iffy. I'm thinking right now Boston's going to fall out.
I think even if Boston wins, like I think that almost knocks both of them out potentially. Although it would be hard. It'll be hard mathematically for Boston to get knocked out if they win. But man,
you almost want them to get knocked out at this point. They're playing so poorly.
Yeah, they don't deserve to be in it.
So I really hope for the sake of the playoffs, Seoul gets this one.
Yeah, for sure. Though it would be pretty funny that that would be one of those, like, if we went back in time and talked to our preseason selves, that'd be one that we would probably not believe.
We'd laugh at the prospect of this having any relevancy right now.
Right. Oh, Boston versus Seoul. Oh, yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. Funny dumpster time.
Is fun.
Yeah. But moving on, we've got Shanghai Dragons versus Florida Mayhem. We've both got Florida here because you just don't pick Shanghai to win. 65% of fans are in favor of Shanghai. 35% still believe. I'm not one of those 35%.
I'm not one of them either, but I don't hate this percentage.
No.
I'm picking Florida 3-0. This is about right. This is
honestly, if it was higher, I'd probably flip it.
Right. This is one of those scenarios where we've said it before, but I think we mean it now. This is Shanghai's last best chance. They've got Florida in this one, who
maybe Boston.
Similar, basically exactly what I said against about Shanghai earlier. But Florida's another team in that same boat. Bad teams find ways to lose games. Yeah. They've got Saya player on the injured list right now. He has a I don't know if it was shoulder or wrist, I can't remember, but so he's been out, and if he's not back, I think this is a definite opportunity. I understand Logix has been playing very, very well. These teams mirror each other very, very much so. Underwhelming support cores, iffy tanks, inconsistent tank play. And then inconsistent DPS play. So this one's going to be decided not by the fact that Shanghai hasn't won, but it's going to be decided on which team has more players that put it together. This one is going to be won by an individual player that decides to make plays at the right time. If Dia plays like he did against Houston, Shanghai is going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
pick Florida.
Yeah, pick Florida for statistics. But man, if it were even at like 70%, I would probably advise a flip here, just because like that's probably good enough odds to flop it.
It feels coin flippy. Shanghai feels like they're still improving. Florida doesn't feel that way. Now, Shanghai, I'm not saying Shanghai's better. Just feels like they are. Like I can see improvement from them, and I don't see that from Florida.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we saw it for a little bit, and then it just stopped.
They used to be improving, but now they're.
Yeah. Moving on here, we've got the battle for Texas here: Dallas versus Houston. I've got Dallas here 3-0. You're picking Houston in 5. 71% of the fans have Dallas, so we have a discrepancy. So we'll call in the coin, but also, Death, you have you got map breakdowns here.
Yeah, I really view this one as very much so a coin flip. I know everybody thinks that I'm a biased Houston fan, and you're not wrong. But this one is very close to a 50-50 to me. And I was leaning towards picking Dallas, right? Because I just don't know. We saw Houston get back a little bit. We saw some big plays from Raucus this past weekend. It was great to see him performing at a higher level than he has in the last stage and a half to 2 stages. We saw Linkser get back a little bit. It's hard to judge him though when you're going against that Dia performance. How much better was he? So I'm still iffy on Houston. I haven't lost my mind. I'm not buying all in on them. But that's 71%. This is a coin flip to me. This isn't 21% decided. I'm in 15th place in our pick'em, so I'm snap picking Houston here. When we look at the maps, we see Kings Row. Houston is 4-0. I'm doing stage map records here, except for the tiebreaker, right? Because we're starting to get enough of a sample size to really judge it on, and everything's so different that we're going to look at the stage records here for the matches I do maps for the rest of stage 4. Kings Row, though, Houston was 4-0. Dallas is 1-2. So I think we can lock that one up for Houston. Going to Hanamura, pretty much the opposite here. We've got 3-1 for Dallas, 1-1 for Houston. There's a possibility, but I just love how Dallas is playing this map in particular. A lot more Brigitte than most people are playing on this map in particular. Houston goofily ran like dive at one point. If they try that here, it's not going to work. So I think we can squarely put Hanamura in Dallas's favor. So we're at 1-1. We go into Lijiang Tower. These next couple maps are a little closer, but Houston really likes Lijiang and Nepal. They're their best two control maps. So there's 2-0 this stage. Dallas is 1-1. We'll give a small edge to Houston. Going to Dorado, I think, historically a very good map for Houston. So this one's, I think, more of a coin flip than most, but the records don't lie. We got 1-1 for Dallas, 0-2 for Houston, so just as much a minor edge for Dallas in that one as Lijiang is for Houston. So we're still kind of split, and then we go into the tiebreaker, which is Nepal, 6-3 for Houston, 2-7. So I've got Houston going to 5. I think this is going to be a phenomenal match of Overwatch. I'm really excited for the rivalry to maybe be in like a competitive game or a game that matters. And, it's one of those things where is it really it's always going to be a rivalry because they're an interstate bus ride away from being in each other's stadiums when they go to their cities and stadiums. But, good rivalries, not just rivalries, but good rivalries are made on the stage and on the field. And I want to see the first installment of that because we really haven't gotten it yet, and I want to see it.
I mean, not since stage 1 when it was still like a foregone conclusion that Dallas was god awful.
Yeah, but I mean, Houston 4-0'd that matchup. Like it was brutal.
Oh, right. It wasn't close after. Like looking back, it wasn't close, but going into it, it was.
I want to see this one close as we look back on it. I want this to be a 5-mapper. I think it'll be great for the storylines going into season 2 when these teams get to play each other, stuff like that. So I'm really, really hopeful that that's going to be a phenomenal match of Overwatch, and we will see. I think there's a lot of individual battles there as well. The Brigitte play. So it's going to be like Mickey versus the kind of Brigitte by committee that Houston does, which is mostly Linkser or Arhan or Jake. So, and also I'm really curious, are we going to see Arhan? They brought him out against Shanghai and Florida, but does that just get him some playtime in case you need him? I'm very nervous / excited there because he flashed some very high mechanical skill at times. And he also showed that there's some communication problems. In the second matchup, Houston was doing call outs in Korean for him in some cases.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so I mean that's great to see. It's got to be great to making him feel welcome. But even in like the press conferences, they were like, "So was Arhan going to Doomfist part of the plan there?" And they're like, "No, he didn't even say a word. I just pressed tab and I go, we have a Doomfist now," and everybody had to adjust to it. But it's one of those things. It was like a last second, like they were losing or worried about getting snowballed, so we went to something with high variance that might swing a fight. And like they said, you don't need to even really communicate that, right? Because you shouldn't be in this situation where you're in the desperate pick spot. So it's not something, or it would have been his fault if it didn't go well. But I was a little nervous, but I do think he played really well. Part of me hopes they go back to Jake, maybe do what they were thinking about doing with Clockwork before with Arhan. Find one spot for him right now, maybe if anywhere, if he really stands out on a map. Or if you really, really want to play a Genji on a particular map, maybe use him there. But I do want to see them getting back to a little bit more Jake. This one's going to be super, super close. And obviously, we're going to go with heads for Dallas and tails for Houston because tails never fails. And I'm nothing if not biased. And we have tails for Houston. So the coin is all in on the Outlaws.
All right, we will see. Oh, and I did find my other coin when I was moving, and then I promptly put it in a box somewhere, so who knows where it is now.
Yeah, it doesn't have a beard on it, so we use this
one. No, I guess it technically could because it has a gladiator on it, so it could, like, there could be a beard underneath the Spartan helmet, so it's Schrodinger's beard, if nothing else. But, I think this is potential map of the week, especially considering, like, Houston needs both teams need the win for their respective playoff berths, right? Like they both need to win it. So they're playing
only one team's desperate. I think is what you're trying to say.
I mean, they're both kind of desperate, right? Like Dallas is desperate for something. Houston is desperate for a chance in the season playoffs.
Yeah, I feel I don't know. It's nitpicking and whatever. I think we're saying very similar things. Dallas really wants it, but Houston needs it. Like they have to have it.
I mean,
because they
yeah,
can't. I think 2 losses going forward in the last 4 for Houston is probably game over.
The stakes are higher for Houston for sure, but like
right.
the
When you look at Valiant,
proportional
and
stakes
Philly.
are the same for both teams. I think. Like Dallas.
Maybe we're not saying the same thing, and I just
Well,
disagree.
okay, Dallas can't like everything Dallas has to play for right now is the stage 4 playoffs, which is a lower amount, which is lower stakes than Houston, but that is still 100% of their stakes, just like it's 100% of Houston stakes. It's just that like Dallas's 100% is like 76, whereas Houston's 100% is 86, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. They're both going to be trying their best here. They both need they both need it for their own respective things. But let's move on here. We've got LA Valiant versus London Spitfire. We're both picking LA Valiant here, 3-0. 85% of the fans are agreeing with us with the Valiant. I mean, Valiant is hot. London is not. But man, like we've said for literally years now, going back to Immortals, they're that sine wave, man. And right now they're either at or very close to their apex at the top, which if history shows anything, like they won Contenders season 0. No, yeah, preseason. I don't remember how they did the seasons, but they won one of the Contenders.
Season 1.
Was it season 1?
No,
season
sorry,
0.
You're talking about the Valiant. Dallas won season 1. I think you're talking about the Valiant winning season 0.
Yes, well, Immortals at the time, but yes. They won season 0 and then just completely just gone out of season 1. Like did awful. So I mean they've been on the top of the world and they've also been at the bottom. So right now it looking like I mean having just beat NYXL, a feat that only 3 other teams have done. It's seeming like they're on top of the world, and if history repeats itself, then it's looking like they might be on a downturn here. But that's not necessarily true. London, of course, a team that has shown they can beat anyone. They've recently consolidated their roster. They also lost to the Dallas Fuel last week. So what are you thinking here, Death?
I think it's very important that people, and I should have flipped this one for the sake of I'm not in the top 5,
right?
But I didn't, so I won't. It didn't really occur to me. I was kind of moving through them a little farther at this point. But
I mean, you could have flipped it before you started the sentence.
How many of you? I could have, but I'm. It's not me. It's not my style. I'll roll with it. It's very important that like everybody remember everyone was all in on Houston after week 1, and then what happened, and everybody was all in on the Gladiators in week 2. And what happened in week 3?
I mean, everyone was all in on the Valiant in stage 3 or 2 when they started off hot.
And they fell back, and I think it was even a 6-0 start like they're at right now before things settled down, and they kept their stage playoff spot. But I think we all need to realize that like 2 through 8 should never be more than like 70%.
At most,
like it needs to be like any one of these teams can beat any of them any day, especially when you're in that 2 to 8 conversation. And it's hard to pick against a team that just beat New York, but again, New York was whatever. And the matchup against LA, I'm not sure we saw the best team win. We saw the best team in that match win. But I really think it was a lot about the pressure and the moment and the rivalry, and the Valiant psyched themselves up. They had that cool intro where they had like the what's the word for? I'm trying to think. The guy from A Knight's Tale. What is that career or whatever?
The Bard.
Yeah, like a bard, or I don't know, like an announcer or whatever came out and my lords, my ladies, and it was they hyped them up. They were led out by a awesome Valiant Mercy cosplay, and like they really fed into it, and I loved that we saw an outro, I think, give the team a boost or an intro,
Yeah.
the walkout, give a team a boost, because I really think that's what happened. I think they were pumped up, and then you just kind of saw the Valiant or the Gladiators walk out like whatever. Nothing special, nothing's going on. We're not even going to give a wink or a nudge to our fans that what just happened showed us up pretty big. And then the play showed them up. And I really think it's silly, but I really think the walkout had an impact on that match. And
100%.
An edge. And that's why I want other teams to take a note of that, right? Like, I get it, Florida Mayhem. Like, you started doing better, so you wanted to put the goofy stuff behind you. Combine them both, because when players, I think, are playing Overwatch and having fun is when they're going to play their best. So you need to get them to be able to have fun and goof around a little bit while not forgetting about the preparation and all the work that they did and what's the smart strategy and what have they worked on. You need a balance of that, and it's something I think the Valiant found beautifully this week. I think it helped them a lot in that matchup. But unless they start blowing trumpets at the start of this match against London, London has a puncher's chance. They've got a decent shot at this one, and 85% just seems too high to me. So that's my big takeaway here, is that this isn't an 85% matchup. This is a very close matchup that we need to watch very closely, and I think people are falling into the same trap that I fell in with Houston and the Gladiators and New York and like literally every single team. To just overrating them a little bit.
Well,
after
New York is probably a good one to follow.
Better than the rest of them. But I didn't I just thought they were too good and too smart to really even lose this LA matchup. Is what I'm getting at here. That you think they're a lock and then you're wrong, because there's no locks in this league right now. And don't forget that is all I'm getting at. Don't be surprised when London beats Valiant here. You shouldn't be. It should have been a foreseeable outcome, because it is. There's a good chance London will take this one. That said, I'll pick the Valiant.
Definitely a good flip here. You're getting good odds. But yeah, I can say from personal experience, though, obviously, having an adrenaline rush will help you more in a physical sport probably than Overwatch, but it's certainly not zero. My high school basketball, we would do intros for home games, and all the lights would go off, and there was a spotlight, and the music would go, and they do the announcer thing, introduce it. It was awesome, at least in high school, when you were hearing your name read out, and and then the other team, and then the away team is and the power forward is blah 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 blah, and no one cares, and they're probably getting booed from the crowd. That stuff takes a toll on you, and we've heard from the players they can hear it, and there's a big difference even from where we're sitting. When they announce the Florida Mayhem, it's that same stock it's almost like it's a stock clip of clapping. It's not the same. And then the Valiant come out, and then you hear the soon chant, and that's its own thing. And then the crowd on their own starts chanting wings out or whatever, shields up for LA Gladiators. That has an effect.
Speaking of which, I was a little bit upset that it was Shanghai Dragons Day when they play against the Houston Outlaws, and they hired them a cheerleading squad.
Yeah, and
I
Jin
was
Yang.
upset about that, because if I'm being honest with you, I really do believe in this mental aspect of it. This goes back to when I played Little League football.
Yeah.
We used to warm up like an army unit would. It was, we were all counting off everything we did at full volume, yelling it, and we would literally the coaches and stuff, they'd kind of say to us, the other team is watching you when you warm up, because nobody warms up like you. They're not paying it to their heads. You've already beaten some teams before you take the field because of how you warmed up. Stuff like that makes a big difference, and nobody should have a cheerleading squad in this ball. That's, I guess, my point.
And all I could imagine you saying, and hearing you say when that happened, was Jin Yang!
Jin Yang!
Oh, so good. Shout out to Silicon Valley. Such a good show. But let's move on here. Talk about LA Gladiators versus New York Excelsior. We're both picking NY here. Again, don't not pick NY, even though you're wrong once a stage. That already happened. Now, 93% of the fans are agreeing with us here. This is going to be a telling match for NY and their mentality. Do they come out and dick around again like they did last week? Or are they coming out full stop, Animo and Pine only seeing sparse play. They've pretty much kept their Janus mono swaps are basically 100% strategy calls from their end. So I don't question that at all. But the amount of Pine and Animo we saw last week, I think, was directly correlated to the fact that they don't care. Like, it doesn't matter if they win or lose. They just want to get those guys reps. They want to, do whatever. It'll be very interesting to see if we see it. It'll be very interesting if we see the same amount of Animo and Pine this week, and if we see Pine doing the same Gibraltar shenanigans again.
I won't think about not picking New York even next week against Houston. Again, I don't know who their other opponent is off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I won't even think about picking against New York in those matchups unless they continue the goofy strats, the weird flanks, that kind of stuff. Even if they beat the Gladiators, but do that stuff, I'll consider picking against them.
It's Boston, so you're not picking against them, even if they tank.
Yeah, but maybe the Houston one, right at the end when it's like a win and in for the playoffs.
They lose against
one team goofing around, the other team deadly serious. I mean, that would be a strong flip potential if they only if they continue to.
I don't think anything of it for this week because I don't think that you necessarily want to, even if you were trying to, like, if you're NYXL and you're just trying to puppet master the playoffs that you want to play against, I don't think you put LA Valiant in the playoffs if you have a choice. I don't think you choose to play against them. I think you would rather play against a Boston or someone else rather than LA Valiant. Granted, maybe not, because up until this week, they had literally never lost a map to LA Valiant. So maybe they would try to puppet them in.
That's true. That's true. But
I'm not thinking anything of it yet.
I would think they would want to puppet in are Boston because of how bad they look and the rivalry, right? Like, it would mean a lot to them, I think, to beat Boston in the finals. And also Houston, if for no other reason, then Houston is one of their most worrisome opponents, right? London, who's beaten them already, like, in their mind, that's got to be one of their tougher opponents. Houston's their kryptonite. So you let them in, London gets 2, New York, London would have the 3 seed essentially, right? Because 2 is going to go to LA. And then 3 is going to play against 6. So if you let Houston sneak in 6, they'll just knock London out in the first round for you. Or at least have a really good shot at it.
Right.
So that's the one where I think London or New York might want to, kind of influence things or give a nod to somebody there.
I don't know if we're seeing that though. This is all. This is tinfoil hat for sure.
They're all tinfoil hat. You never know. Some teams don't have that mentality. Some teams have the mentality of no. When we're on the stage, we're trying our absolute hardest, 100%.
That apparently was not
New
York this week.
I don't think that's the case with New York. So maybe it's a little more likely, but it's one of those things too. Is you can't ever predict it or plan for it because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
You have all the pressure on Houston, and that one could be too much, even if they're memeing and not trying. Like, they'd have to make it really obvious, so they just don't, or and also there's tempting fate, and that's kind of where I fall on it, because I don't tempt fate. I don't pick my opponents. I don't influence what that is. I do the best I can and play the opponents I'm given, and then do the best I can against them, and that's kind of how I approach those.
See, now I'm thinking, like, I don't know, because we didn't grow up, and we didn't, like, our competitive gaming side was in Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone to an extent. So we, like, know the temperament and how those people think, like, how that type of gamer thinks. I don't know what, like, when it comes to, like, a Magic the Gathering player, a Hearthstone player, like, that strategy gamer is always thinking about all of those types of things. And, like, poker players too, always thinking about your outs and, like, how you can maximize your outs essentially, and like thinking of these weird corner cases and stuff, and thinking of, like, what are the percent chances of that happening. I don't know if that's how FPS players think. Like, it might not even cross any of their minds, but, like, that's of course, like, the first thing that we're thinking, because we're, like, trying to, like, corner case everything.
The number of times I've been in a draw into the top 8 scenario in Magic, and I look at my opponent and go, we're playing. Because I don't want him in there, because he beats my buddy's deck. Like, I have a good matchup against him. I don't care. But my buddy, who's also going to top 8, has a bad matchup against him, so I want to knock him out. I've done
basically, you're saying
times.
You're a scumbag. You're the scumbag, no sir. You're a no sir scumbag.
Not often. I mean, if it doesn't impact me, I'm never gonna, like, make somebody lose out. But
I've definitely done that for
we've
greed.
All done.
I've done it for greed because my deck was unbeatable and I wanted the full foil set of Avacyn restored, not just half of it. That has definitely happened, and believe me, I won.
So yeah, if you think that sounds crazy, we come from a slightly different world. These teams and these players might not think like we do.
Yeah,
but, we're just drawing off our experience.
Card gamers tend to, and even if you like watch Hearthstone streamers, you can tell that they have like a different mentality. They min max everything, and they're trying to figure out probabilities and corner cases and the probability of corner cases. That's why when you watch like a Hearthstone streamer, they're like Raynad, for instance, is like, oh well, if this Yogg Saron hits exactly this and this, I lose by 1, and then it happens, and it's a meme moment. It's like that's because all of the every gamer, every like strategy gamer is thinking about the worst case scenario and the weird corner cases. But we don't know. It would be kind of funny if we like get a message like, hey, this is what we're doing. Stop talking about it. Stop revealing our strategies, man. Although I feel like we're tinfoil hat enough where even if they were true, no one would believe us. Even if they are
until
true.
Until they see him do it.
Yeah. But we'll have long since been put into the mental institution.
New York drops 0-4 to Houston. We're gonna look like geniuses.
That is a word that I would maybe not use. But let's move on here. Talk about San Francisco Shock versus Philadelphia Fusion. Man, the board has San Francisco here. 80% of the Heinen Pick'em. Oh no! Oh, never mind. I read that wrong. I've got San Francisco here 3-0. Death, you've got Philadelphia here 3-0. And 80% of the fans are in favor of San Francisco. So I've got to imagine this is an odds flip for you here, Death.
Yeah, 80%. Like I just talked about this a little bit ago. Knock it off right now, people. Yeah, the reason I changed it in the middle of it is because I make the picks without the fan input, so that I'm just picking who I think's most likely to win. Mm-hmm. And then these flips come as a result of the ridiculous shenaniganry of fans being out of their minds. But no, I get liking San Francisco here. I really think Choi Hyo-bin has been like a revelation for this team. He's watch them beat Dallas this week and just watch him eat like every dragon that Siegel's trying to fire, like through walls. He doesn't know where Siegel is, and he's still eating the dragon. So I think Choi Hyo-bin's been really, really good for them. San Francisco's the smart pick here, but again, like I said, I'm in 15th place. I would like to be in first place, and that's not going to happen. I'm even rooting for San Francisco because of what it means for Houston. But for the sake of my pick'em glory, I'm flipping this because I have to, and there should not be 80% of people that are satisfied with where they're at in pick'em right now. So there should be more people flipping that.
Really, I mean, I guess if we're treating it like the people who listen to Heinen Podcast are a premium select group of people, then they're probably everyone that listens to us flipping isn't going to affect it too much. But
in our league, it's way closer to a 50-50 because we got all the smart.
That's true. Yeah, definitely a flip if you're looking to make points here. I do think San Francisco's favorite here, and like Death said, it's probably a San Francisco favorite here, but 80% for this matchup. No. Moving on, we've got Boston Uprising versus the Shanghai Dragons here. Don't pick Shanghai. We both got Boston here 3-0. The 17% that seems to always have faith in Shanghai is still here, but it's 83 for Boston.
And this one should probably be a little closer to what the Florida percentage is, because I do think Boston's that bad. Like they're right in there with Florida right now. Boston has just proven that they would almost prefer. It feels like they would prefer to lose when you watch them. When somebody's playing well, they just want to go home.
They don't want to be up.
How they find ways to blow it. So again, I'm actually listening to my own advice, and despite thinking I think there's a very good chance Shanghai leaves this weekend with one win, I will pick them to go 0-2. That's the only thing that makes sense.
This is kind of the two competing rules here. The first one, I think rule number 1 is don't pick Shanghai to win, followed by don't pick New York to lose, and then followed by flip it if the odds are good. And it's kind of a 1 in 3 discrepancy here, because it might be If it was like 95, if it was 10% higher for Boston.
If you're page 2 on the pick'em standings, you're desperate enough to flip it.
Page 2, flip it. You heard it here. Moving on, we've got Florida Mayhem versus Dallas Fuel. Everybody is picking Dallas here. 98% of people, in fact, are in favor of Dallas. I wouldn't flip this.
I wouldn't flip it either. 98% is a little crazy. But again, like we said, Florida's stopped improving. Dallas has clearly found something, right? Like I think they're getting credit for like a 5-1 or 6-0 record right now when you hear people talk about them. But they're they're at 4-2. That's really, really solid. But I mean, you've got teams that Houston's at the same record, and people talk about them like they're doomed, and it's not really the case. But again, Dallas has something here. The flexibility, like the weird Seagull tank move, ended up benefiting them because it gives them a flexibility that a lot of teams don't have right now. And it just makes it feel like Florida with their struggles is not going to be able to do it. So despite the third rule being percentages should it impact your choice, this one maybe leave it go. Dallas has got enough to play for here, and Florida literally is out of any inspiration or motivation or anything. They're
the players playing for their jobs is basically what they've
That's
got.
it. And then still no Saya player.
Yeah.
We don't know.
There's enough other flips here to not need to flip this one. Moving on here, we've got Philadelphia Fusion versus Seoul Dynasty here. We both got Philly here 3-0, but this one's basically a coin flip with 53% of the fans in favor of Philly. So, Death, you did a map breakdown.
I did. We're going to start things off on Kings Row, where the Seoul Dynasty are 2-1, and the Philadelphia Fusion have yet to win this stage. They are 0-2. So we got an initial map lead here for the Dynasty. We go to Horizon Lunar Colony. Different, basically same story, but different teams here. We've got Philly at 2-1, Seoul at 0-3. So we go into the break 1-1. Go to Lijiang Tower, where Philly is up 2-1 in that, versus 1-3 for Seoul. So Seoul has proven to not be doing too great on Lijiang. Now Gibraltar, they're both split, so it's straight down the middle here. 1-1, 2-2 are the records there, and then we go into the season records on Nepal: 6-6 and 7-7. So this one by map is incredibly, incredibly close. There is a microscopic edge to the Philadelphia Fusion here when we look at the map pool. I think it matters quite a bit who plays here, and I don't know who I think is better for Philadelphia to play. I don't know if they should get EQO back or continue to roll with Shadowburn. If they needed a sweet pillow, they might play him, but I don't think they do in this one. They're going to have to stay awake or stay woke to get
Cast
this W.
Carpe
here, so.
Snillo. Do it. It'll open a door or something.
But yeah, so I'm leaning Philadelphia on a small edge here. I think they're a better team. But it really, at the end of the day, this is more about just a lack of confidence in Seoul, and there being more up in the air with them right now than there is with Philadelphia. Like Philly's being forced to, due to injury, make a roster change. Seoul has been opting into roster changes for 3 stages now, and they're settling down. But this was a couple weeks ago, and I just think Philly's going to be able to kind of hot swap that one player with a couple weeks to prep. Regardless of whether EQO's back or not, I think Philly's going to be able to sneak this one out. If for no other reason than Shadowburn is, if you didn't remember, like one of the 3 best Pharahs in this league. So maybe they could just lean on that and change up their hero or their comps a little bit to suit the players they have.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly can. And, I mean, you can't really count out Carpe at any time. But moving on, we've got London Spitfire versus LA Gladiators here. We both got Gladiators taking this one down, but this, man, these are flip odds if I've ever seen them. 91% in favor of Gladiators.
It's too big, but I still don't want to flip it because I do feel strongly enough that London is much like Seoul. They solidified their roster, but maybe a little bit too late. So no swapping here for me. I'm going to be keeping the Gladiators here on my 3-1.
Yeah.
They stumbled last week. I don't think they fell. I just think they stumbled, and I think they're going to pick it right back up, carry things, and listen, Fissure's more handsome than Gesture, so that's got to count for something.
Here's here's the thing about the flip odds is like you don't need to flip everyone that gives you good odds. This is a good, like we've talked about a couple of them. Take your pick, whichever one, like use your gut here. Like, do you think that maybe Gladiators has London has a better chance against Gladiators than maybe one of the other ones? Flip that one instead. Like, I mean, we're just
don't
telling
flip
you
more than 3, right? If you pick against every,
I think your baseline is probably 2 flips a week, and then if you're really feeling frisky, go for the third one. But I probably
your page tours get real desperate.
Yeah, exactly, because that's where you really have a shot, and you need to make some ground. Moving on, New York Excelsior versus San Francisco Shock. No surprise here. The board is picking New York here 3-0, and 93% of the fans are picking New York. No flip here. Rule number 2.
If New York loses 2 in a row for the first time ever, drop to the Gladiators, and they prove to be memeing a bit, then you can consider it in a desperate scenario. But again, it just lumps into the group of pick 2 or 3 that you feel really confident about, not auto flip it.
Yeah, for sure. And then last match of the week, and man, this is a big one for sure. Houston Outlaws versus LA Valiant here. I'm picking Valiant. You've got Houston here. 93% of the fans are in favor of the LA Valiant. This is huge.
And that's why I made my pick the way I did, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The Valiant have an edge going into this matchup. They're playing really, really well. I think they're playing the best they've played all season. I am nowhere near 93% sure that they're going to get the win here, though.
Nope.
Houston did have a get-right week at the exact right time. Their matchups against Shanghai and Florida being in the same week could not have occurred at a better time for them. They could have momentum, and they've also got a decent break here, and I don't know what the Valiant break is in between the matchup. It looks like they are playing I'm on the wrong week even too.
So Houston plays
Wednesday and Saturday, I know that.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Valiant. Okay, so one less day. They play Thursday and Saturday. So it's not like back-to-back days or anything like that. But, I think it's a big deal for these teams, right? Like Houston's going to, if they're especially like coming off of a win versus Dallas, that's going to give them a boost, morality boost. Then they get to sit down as a team the next day and watch and go over the LA Valiant matchup. And I think that's a big deal for these teams to be able to sit and watch your opponent.
It's got to be.
On a day off, essentially, too, right? Like they can scrim for a little bit in the afternoon, then they can hang out, do a little VOD review, then break out the popcorn and watch the Valiant go up against the Spitfire, and talk about what they're doing on those maps. Look at the maps that they share that are common in the map pool between those two matchups. It feels like a big deal to me. And then they've got more time, just as much time after spending a day recapping what happened with Dallas, scrimming a little bit, then they get to watch what the Valiant do. So they get to debrief after their matchup, then start to prepare, and it just feels like a really good. And I don't know that we've done a good job identifying those situations, but it just all speaks to. And again, I don't care who the teams are. If they're in between 2 and 8, I don't care that this is number 2 versus number 8.
Right.
There's no 90%. There's no 80%. This is this should be closer to 75% in the Valiant favor. If we got it down there, I might consider, even that's a bit of a stretch, but I'm trying to not be too biased because I do think the Valiant have the edge here.
You do, but this is right where we've seen them crumble so many times, and how much
it's the right
stock
week
can
for
you...
it.
Right, and if New York comes out and doesn't destroy and doesn't dick around last week, how much lower is this LA Valiant percent? Like how much more realistic does this Valiant match look compared to what people are picking it now? So yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I am still leaning towards LA Valiant here, but
this one, the percentages to me that I think are about right are like 60-40 in the Valiant's favor is the way I think this should actually be picked. And for what it's worth, I initially wrote Valiant win 3-0, but then saw the percentage and laughed out loud and switched.
It's, recency bias, and we've kind of lost transitive property because none of the transitive math checks out anymore.
Listen, Blevins, it always checks out.
Never did and never will. But we do have recency bias creep its ugly head in a lot. I mean, for us too, but you know what? We get to talk about it every week and forget what we want to forget. But that's gonna be it for the week. Man, I think this is the most probably polarized and potentially wrong the High Noon Pick'em community has been.
Yeah.
This is the most number of flips I think we've called for, or like potential flips, I think ever. Which is weird because we had a lot of weeks of like, yep, this looks right. Yep, this looks like about right. There's like maybe one flip, but you don't have to take it. Like now it's like, make sure you don't take too many flips, though. You probably can't go too wrong even if you took them
Right.
all.
Like I think 4 or 5 times I saw the percentages on these ones and just thought that and then again, it's, I don't know if you said the High Noon podcast community, but the High Noon Pick'em community is who I just think has lost their minds a little bit. And,
Yeah.
credit to the league, though. The fact that we're this late into the league and we don't have a firm grasp on it yet, and you shouldn't have a firm grasp on it yet. I think the stage structure is proven to be a big success, and just how close the race is speaks volumes about how bright the future is for this league.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about how much this Dallas versus Houston match wouldn't matter if the stage playoffs didn't exist. I mean, I don't know about Dallas's mentality, but like, even if you're not actively like casting away the match, like when you're playing for nothing versus playing for something, even at a subconscious level, there's a difference there. So yeah, I mean, I think that Dallas Houston match is actually going to be one of the better matches of the week. Where if there was no stage playoffs, it might just be like Dallas might not even show up like at all. Like who cares? Like they're done.
Yeah, they'd be checked out. I mean, they all would be in effect mode right now, and 6 of them would still be in the country, but they would be planning their off-season activities.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely
Maybe
liking
what
this
contenders team they're going to join.
Well, who knows? I mean, that very well could change if they pull out a playoff berth for stage 4. But
Good.
That is going to be the end of the episode today. Oh boy, this was, man, it did not, we're at an hour and a half right now. It did not seem like that long.
No, it did go by pretty quick for sure, but there was good amount of stuff at the beginning, and to kind of speed things along a little bit, I'm just going to go right into the iTunes review that we do have.
Yes.
It is official. Our feed thing, the service I signed us up for, is broken and doesn't work. So
Nice.
thank you, Warhen117, for leaving us a 5-star review titled "Great Podcast" to help us test out that feed. He said, "This show is absolutely one of the best Overwatch League podcasts out there. From everything like the coin."
Okay, that's not the coin. That's the coin replacement.
It's the coin.
That's
the
the
one and
beard
only coin.
I have the Hearthstone, like the literal Hearthstone coin.
Nope, dead to me. From everything like the coin to the map statistics, this show has it. It's always great listening to this show. I look forward to the chance each and every week. Thank you so much, Warren, for the kind words, guys. If you do want to help out the show, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The very first of which is by leaving us one of these iTunes reviews. Just head on over to, search up High Noon Podcast in your iTunes app. Leave us a review and a rating. We will read out whatever nice or rude comments or funny comments you decide to leave in there. By all means, feel free to meme us a little bit. And also you can subscribe to us on Patreon. That is patreon.com/High Noon Podcast, right? Did I get the URL correct?
That is correct.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Selling out like hexagrams.
Oh, yeah. And you can find all those links, of course, over highnoonpodcast.com. You can check out the live viewing of the show, and all the shows that we do are, and by we I mean Deathblow and myself, are always at twitch.tv/highnoonpodcast. Blackwatch Report is at its own Twitch, I believe, twitch.tv/Blackwatch Report. One of their things is like a weird R or not an E or something, but I don't think it's the Twitch. I think it's Twitter. But yeah, all the stuff can be found at highnoonpodcast.com. And we are Twitch affiliates, so you can find, if you want to support us there, we do have a High Noon Podcast emote. If you so desire, you can go to twitch.tv/High Noon Podcast, subscribe there. You can also use your Amazon Prime subscription if you'd like. I believe that is going to be it for this week. For the flagship show, keep an eye out, guys. there's potentially going to be some additional videos this week. I've got a couple of things I just need to finalize, and we'll be getting some, at the very least, YouTube content and potentially a hot seat or two. Who knows? But I believe, Death, any last minute stuff here?
No, but get used to hearing about the High Noon Hot Seat again, because as the season winds down, that's, I think, one of the big things we plan to do with the off season is to get back into interviewing more people, doing some recap of the season, and then also looking forward. As crazy and as undecided as things were when the rosters were signing to begin with and everything like that, free agency is almost more fun.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
When,
those are the
players
best.
are stealing players from other teams, and you don't see it coming, and there's going to be surprises. There's going to be a lot of pog champing going on come free agency. So I'm really excited for that. And as always, we mentioned it before, send us any ideas you have for off-season content, because we do want to keep things Overwatch League focused or top level of competition focused. And that might not be entirely possible, but we have a Contenders and Tier 2 show in Blackwatch Report. We don't want to be competing with our own shows and things like that as we go in. So always open to any ideas for what we can do in the off season.
Yeah, let us know. You can head over to discord.me/podcast. We have a show suggestions text channel. Throw anything in there. We definitely keep an eye on that as well. But that is going to be it, guys, for the episode for this week. For Deathblow, I'm the Blevins. And remember, it's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
E bare handius unum. He came, he bare, he hanced.